I'm going to go ahead and conduct this mostly in the dark because that's pretty much what I spend most of my time exploring in. It's not always really dark when I'm doing it, but it all begins that way. And sometimes it ends that way. But just because it's dark doesn't mean there's not something there that's worthwhile. Let me give you an example. We can't see everything that goes on in our world, even in our daily life. We don't know and see everything. But what we do see is just a very small part of what's really out there. We're missing more than what we're seeing. And that seems to be one of the challenges. Now, when I have my experiences, I don't know where I'm going to go, and I don't know what I'm going to see when I get there. I usually never have an idea. Sometimes when I see it I recognize something, or other times I just have to spend a large amount of the time just trying to figure out what's going on, what I'm seeing, and where I might be at, and then just absorb as much information as I can based upon the small amount of time I'm there. Sometimes it's very difficult, and sometimes it's a lot easier, but most of the time it's pretty difficult. And it's no different from regular life or daily life. You've got a difficulty level, and then you just try to make the best of it. But no matter what we do or what way we look at it, we have to remember that we are pretty much invincible. You know, we're not going to ever really die. You know, we're energy, and we might go through several lives, but that doesn't mean our main essence is going to die, because it doesn't. Yes, we live in a prison, surrounded by a prison, and the only way we're going to get ourselves out of this is by doing it ourselves. The only way that we're going to be able to do that is by finding ourselves, finding our potential. Sounds like it would be something that's easy, but no, it's not easy. I get confused. I get lost just like everybody else does. But the only thing that I can do is keep pushing forward. At times it's very difficult to keep pushing forward because I don't know where I'm going, what to do next. I'm lost. Like being in the dark right now. You don't know which way you're going. You don't know which way to head. And sometimes you just feel like you don't have anything left, or you just lost your bearing. That happens, and you move ahead. There's one thing, and I've said it before, there's one thing you have that can't be taken away. The only thing that can mute it is you, and that's your drive. You keep pushing forward. When you're in life and you feel frustration and you feel fear, you feel pain, you feel angry, you get all those feelings that you don't like, that you'd rather not have. What you can do is replace those feelings with your drive. Push ahead. Use that energy in those emotions and feelings to push forward. Utilize that energy. Don't waste it. And don't waste it on being angry. Don't waste it on being frustrated. Don't waste it on being mad. Don't waste it on being fearful. Don't waste the energy. Refocus that energy to push yourself ahead. Harder. Push harder. Because the best thing you can do for yourself and those around you is to keep moving ahead. Don't let anything get in your way. Now, when I mean getting in your way, you don't want anything in life to stop you from your path. Now, finding yourself is your path, and you're going to understand at some point, you're going to be aware of your potential. And what you're doing is you are breaking through the layers upon layers upon layers of misinformation and insulation that has surrounded you, me, and everyone else. We have built these layers, and these layers are built upon us. Over the years, from the time we were young, we've been programmed to accept a lot of values, to accept a lot of beliefs, and accept a lot of things that really just aren't true. They're meant to mislead you, to mislead me and everyone else. And when you question things, you can question things one at a time. Look at it. Does it fit? Does it fit your idea or your experience? If you've experienced something and it doesn't match what you're being told, at that point you can look and determine what the real truth is. And that's the only way you're going to be able to understand truth is through experience and information. You can't rely on other people to bring you the truth. You can utilize some of their information to get to that point, but experience is going to give you something that nothing else can. Because once you've experienced it for yourself, there is no substitute. Nothing else can stand in the way of that. And you know what the reality of that is. Now, sometimes when you experience things, you might have to maybe document it and set it aside, and always document things. So you maybe look back on it in a year or two, and then you might better understand those experiences, because at the time, with the information you had available, it didn't really make sense. But now, later on in your life, you're able to put your other experiences together, and this might fit in like a piece of a puzzle. And that's what happens. And as you begin to build upon your experiences and the information you gather, then you can come to conclusions and you can come to truth. But it's all going to require your dedication and your own drive and time. This all takes time. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend 23 hours a day doing this, but keep it in your mind. Keep it in the back of your mind when you're working, or when you're doing your chores, or doing the responsibility, following through those responsibilities you have in life. Keep that in the back of your mind. And don't let the drive for your personal growth be roadblocked. You need to keep it moving ahead. Even if you're not moving at full speed, keep it moving. Because if you let it fall into the background, it will be pruned out of your life, and you will have to almost start over again because you're so far back. Fortunately, I was in a situation when this started. I was young, in my 20s, starting a family, and I had a ton of responsibilities, new career, and I was, like most people are, completely overwhelmed. And I'm doing this. At that point, something has to give. Well, it was a lot of times, sometimes it was my spiritual side, my push forward. And then I would get these reminders. I would feel this flow of energy or something out of the blue. I'm driving, reminds me. Then I kept getting reminders to remind me that it's still there. You started it. You're going to finish it. That's what I'm getting. And a lot of times, I just kind of blow it off because I'm in the middle of something. He comes back, maybe a little bit stronger this time. And then finally, because I'm not the type of guy who generally always takes the hint. Sometimes you almost need to be hit over the head with the skillet before you really get the message. Well, that's almost what happened to me. And finally, I got off my ass and decided it's time to do something. And doing something was not only working harder at it, refocusing, but it was also the decision to do it not just for myself. I had to understand that what I was experiencing was not just a personal experience. This is something that needed to be shared, and it needed to come out, and hopefully will spark interest in others, or if they're already on their path, potentially lead them to a place where they can either find their own, or I can help them in whatever endeavors I'm in at the time. We're in a situation globally where we don't have a lot of time. We don't have decades to wait for a ton of people to realize what's going on. I'm sure there are a lot more people in the last 5 years that are realizing and becoming aware than there ever have been. But just understanding there are problems does nothing to fix the problem. We have to go through a process of really understanding. There are so many layers. Like I said earlier, there are layers that we have to break through. There are layers that we have to see through. And part of those layers are laid upon us, and part of those layers we have laid upon ourselves. We break through the layers, and as we do, we see more and more of the big picture. But the other side of it is, the more we see, the more we realize there's more to see. So if we see another 2%, then there's another 10% we realize that we're missing. So, and it just keeps compounding, and it keeps compiling. So the harder we work, the harder we have to work. And it's not all about just taking up arms. We have to understand why this is happening, and we have to learn from our enemy. Our enemies are masters of manipulation. They work in so many facets and on so many levels. It's very difficult to understand the whole game plan. It's not impossible, but the way we are going to get better at understanding and planning is to understand their plan. I've been, at first, I was totally intimidated, thinking, yeah, I don't know. Then I began to think, and I began to experience more, and then I changed my point of view, my perspective. I changed my perception. I realized that, number one, nothing's impossible. Number two, I knew that we were spiritual beings. But I really didn't put myself in the place that I'm at now. Sometimes it's hard to see yourself from others' eyes so that you can understand. Because people get inside their own heads a lot. And it's hard to step outside of it to see what's going on with yourself. So I had to take a really, really, really hard look at myself before I could even come and talk to anybody else. I ran through a stage where I questioned myself to the point where I was like, I could be on the wrong track. I came to the I came to a conclusion, and I had to look at this truth that potentially this was happening to me. And since these manipulators play both sides, possibility that I was being manipulated for their purpose. And then, I really had to think about it. I really had to look into it deeply. Well, I came to the conclusion that I'm traveling ahead. But then some experiences happened to me that I said, you know what? If they are manipulating me for their purpose, then I wouldn't be getting this level of backlash that I'm experiencing. I would be groomed more than dealing with some of these situations. So I had to make a decision. And my decision was I had to keep moving forward. I took all the information I had at the time and I made a decision based upon my experiences and what I believed was truth. My truth. And I moved ahead. I would rather move ahead and be wrong than quit and do nothing. I can always make changes, and I'm always consciously aware of my decisions. And my decisions are based upon my moral standards. Not anybody else's rules and not anybody else's beliefs. It's all up to me. So I follow what I choose to follow. And I encourage you to question yourself. And you might go through times where you really don't know. But that you will come to a conclusion. You will do the best you can do at the time with the information that you have available. Doing something and maybe being wrong is better than not doing anything at all. It's not easy. Not at all. You will come to times maybe that, But the more decisions you make for yourself, that will build upon your confidence level. And that will build your character. And that will solidify the fact that you are becoming closer to the real you. You're breaking through the layers. We are piercing the layers. I've been piercing layers for years. And at times, I still have problems connecting. I still have problems with distortion and interference. But I move ahead. I realize not everything is perfect. Not everything is going to work exactly the way I want to. And at times you might feel like, well, I haven't done anything for a while. It doesn't seem like things are working. Okay. Got a slow time. Keep moving ahead. Don't be discouraged. Use those times of anguish and anger and frustration to push ahead. Utilize that energy. That energy will be there. And when you are feeling at your lowest point, don't buy into the depression. Because as you become depressed, it will take so much. Once you're depressed, it takes a ton of energy to get you out of it. It's easy once you're depressed, like misery loves company, to keep adding to it, and you just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And it takes so much energy to get you out of that point. Because once you get sucked in, it's like falling down a hole. You're just going to keep falling faster and faster and faster. Then it's hard to get out of that hole. Don't be sucked into it. Don't be sucked into the drama. Don't let yourself fall prey to it. Easier said than done. But if you realize what's happening, then you can make the conscious decision to get the hell out of it. And that's what you have to do. You have to be in control of yourself. This is a part of the whole thing. Because we've been so accustomed to just flying off the handle and not controlling ourselves and our emotions and our feelings. Our emotions, our feelings are 100% under our control. And that's what we need to do, is keep them under our control. If somebody is taunting you to get you mad and upset, don't give them the power for you to become the way they want you to. Because if somebody makes you mad or makes you something else when you say, oh, you made me mad or you made me upset, that you're saying to them that you are controlling me and I'm allowing it. Because the only way that people can control you is if you allow it. Be in control of everything in your life when it comes down to your emotions and your feelings. And once you can do that, you won't be fearful. You won't become intimidated. You can deal with these situations because you understand you are larger than that. This is a temporary situation, and you can handle it. And you will handle it. Because you're growing up. You're on your path. People think spirituality is some weak, peaceful bliss. It's not. Spirituality is reality. Is our reality. This isn't our reality right here. You're in a human form, you're stuck in it. We're all stuck in it. But spirituality is our reality. And we're not going to always have peace and bliss. It's probably not going to happen ever. But we need to free ourselves. And the only way we're going to free ourselves is by understanding first, experiencing, and making conscious decisions based upon our own personal morals. If you can't make decisions based upon your own morals and your own freedoms, then you're never going to be free. We can't allow others to make decisions for us. Don't depend on others to make decisions for you. You have to consciously make your own decisions. You have to stand up for yourself. Stand up for your family. Stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. We all have the freedom to do exactly whatever we want to do, as long as we don't infringe on the freedoms of others, and the same with others. It's a very simple process. It's a very simple understanding. All we want is to be free. Now, when I say free, it's free from all of this manipulation and everything else. And like I said, it's multi-layered. It's in the astral, it's on Earth, and there are several other levels. And we are highly insulated from our source. I will talk more about this in other videos, but I wanted to lay some groundwork on the very simple basics of what we need to understand.